सुगत, तो ये जो बार बार कहा जाता है कि भाई भारतीय जनता पार्टी के 200 से ज्यादा सीटों पर वो 50% से ज्यादा वोट उसके पास है। अगर हम राजीव गांधी के 1984 का रेफरेंस लेते तो शायद 1989 में तो बीजेपी कांग्रेस पार्टी कभी हारती ही नहीं, क्योंकि 415 सीटें उसके पास थी और 49% वोट शेयर थे अखिल भारतीय स्तर के ऊपर। बीजेपी तो फिर भी 37% के ऊपर है और एलायंस के साथ 40% के ऊपर होती। और सेम अगर आप बेंगलोर का एग्जांपल लें, बेंगलोर में बीजेपी को पिछली बार भी 36 सीट आई थी, तब सबसे बड़ी पार्टी बनी थी। इस बार 36% वोट शेयर है एंड बीजेपी इज अ डिस्टेंट सेकंड एंड द कांग्रेस फॉर्म द गवर्नमेंट विद बिगर मेजॉरिटी। सो आपको क्या लगता है, ये जो बीजेपी की तरफ से पोस्चरिंग हो रही है और कांग्रेस की और जो कांग्रेस की तरफ पोस्चरिंग हो रही है, इसका कोई सिग्निफिकेंस आप देख रहे हैं?
Thank you, Ashutosh, and you should permit me to speak in English because
Please go ahead. Please go
my
ahead.
Hindi is terrible, and I don't want to become a laughing stock. Anyway, whatever is happening in Bangalore today is very very early. I completely agree with what Nirja ji said and what Vijay Trivedi ji said, and also Grover ji said. So it's very very early, basically because that there is a question being thrown at the opposition by the BJP which is not being picked up yet, which is it's not there being printed, but the question is, what do you stand for other than your loyalties to the respective dynasties or families that control your party? See, most of the big parties that have assembled in Bangalore are all parties controlled by families and dynasties. So I think that is a basic question that Modi has been posing from 2014 onwards. And you remember that Congress Mukt Bharat ka slogan, uh, which is ongoing. That comes up, that rhetoric comes up now and then, and so that question has not been answered at all. And the opposition, before I come to the aspect of numbers, which I'll present some interesting statistics. The other thing is the bigger issues. One is, of course, you don't know what you stand for. Secularism is a very very abstract idea when compared to the Hindutva program that the BJP puts forward. So Hindutva has a very very concrete kind of imagination in the minds of the voter. You see a temple, you see Ayodhya being built, you see Modi performing rituals when the new parliament building is done. So there is a certain concrete representation of Hindutva. But what is a concrete representation of secularism? So it's on the philosophical basis of these two, fronts. There is a huge problem. You're unable to answer those questions. So that leads us to the other very big problem that the secular front has faced, which is that they don't seem to have a cultural narrative to counter the cultural nationalism of Modi and Shah and BJP and the RSS. So that is something that they have not figured out ever since they lost in 2014. So they should have learned lessons in 2019. The tragedy is that that question has not been addressed, and they look more and more technocratic in their imagination. They are trying to put welfareist ideas before you. They are trying to do a lot of other things, but welfare takes you to a certain point. And another thing that I would like to clarify is, you mentioned about the Karnataka vote share, the Congress's vote share here. See, in 2018 also the Congress had won here. Sorry, I mean, it had not won, but then it had done reasonably well. Its vote share was around 37%, although it had lost. The strike rate was lesser. But look at what happened in 2019 when it came to the Lok Sabha polls. So in 2013, Siddaramaiah had become chief minister, but in 2014, Narendra Modi sort of won. So these are some of the big issues that the opposition has to sort of address. They still seem to be talking a very vague language, which I think will not sort of move in any direction. And there is a sincerity. I completely recognize the sincerity with which they are all coming together. But I'll just present one piece of statistics which will sort of tell us how big the problem is. even when it comes to practical politics, and then I'll probably stop. See, in 2019, Congress versus BJP, the direct contest was in 190 seats. BJP versus regional parties, the direct contest was in 185 seats. Regional parties versus regional parties, 100 seats. Congress versus regional parties, 70 seats. Now, if you go by this simple calculation, Congress will have to surrender 350 seats to its opposition players because it's not in a direct contest in those seats. Will it surrender those 350 seats is the question. So even if you are a little more charitable and then you say that Congress is a party with a large imprint and a large footprint and has a lot of presence, and assume that they contest 350 seats, not surrender 350 seats, but contest 350 seats, then they are still surrendering 170 seats or 150 seats from what they contested in 2014. And although Modi said that in 2019, I think they contested 424 seats, and Modi kept on saying that election that this is the lowest that they have contested in the history. But of course, the lowest that they had contested was in 2004 when they actually won. So they had contested 417 seats. So now is the Congress as a big player going to give up its seats? Because if it gives up its seats, it will also lose its vote share. And vote share, whether you win a seat or lose a seat, to be a national player, and it's a moral claim that, see, now today they have 19.4%. And if they don't contest as many seats, they lose their vote share. So what happens to their moral claim? These are the big issues before us. Sorry,
बिल्कुल